Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Full Quota podcast. My name is Mpho. I've got Tim Delace with me. Tim, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, mate. I'm doing good. I'm glad some semblance of what I call proper cricket is back. It always puts me in my happy place.
Yeah, look, Tim's been watching a lot of cricket. I haven't been, and it's the reason why we're recording on a Thursday because I've been traveling around the country. Now I'm, in a very beautiful part of the world. It's not raining where I am, so I'm not in Johannesburg, if you were wondering. But lots to talk about today was South Africa's I'd say number one cricketing podcast. We talk all things cricket, and we're going to be covering Champions Trophy, previewing the Proteas chances. Tim put a poll up in Twitter this week asking which player is important for the Proteas. I have a name that wasn't on that list, and we're going to be talking about that and the new kit, because there's a new kit, and we're going to be going through One Day Cup results because the One Day Cup started this week. It's been raining on the Highveld, but we've been seeing a lot of cricket games around the other parts of the country. But to start off with, some news that have been percolating around South African cricket, right? Tim, Limpopo. Okay, before we do anything, before we even talk about Limpopo, remember, please do follow us on YouTube where you're watching us right now. Please like and subscribe so you're notified when we go live. Also, please subscribe to us, follow us on X at the Full Quota Pod, and also the Full Quota Post on a pod on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for the audio subscribers. You can also buy some coffee, which is a contribution to us as a member, just to let us know that you are supporting us and our endeavors. We're looking to bring you more content and bring you more content and more podcasts and different versions of it in different places on different topics, and we need some help, and we'd appreciate any contribution to going towards that, because we've got plans in 2025 and we want to see them to fruition. Okay, let's get back to the cricket, the action this week. Off the field, we've seen a lot of stories, right? The first story, Tim, is Limpopo CEO resigning from Limpopo Cricket, and now they're looking for a new CEO to take that province forward. It's quite disappointing. Obviously, they were playing some really good cricket, and it was seeming to be a growing brand, and they won their first tournament last year. But obviously now this is a big blow for them, and now they're looking for someone to take over the reins.
Indeed. When it's one of the smaller unions, you always worry. So we hope that whoever they do get in steadies the ship and gets them on a good footing, because on the field they've been performing really, really well. And we hope that it's not a sign of the team regressing. So yeah, that was announced, I think sometime last week, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so hopefully they get good person in and can keep the positivity that is around Limpopo cricket at the moment.
Yeah, no, that's true. And the other piece of news is we've got two provinces that they've been put under administration, largely due to just some mismanagement, and CSA have decided to take over from that. What normally happens is that CSA does have a special right to do this as the mother body, right? Obviously, all the provinces sign up into the CSA. All provinces actually members of Cricket South Africa, and that's how it is done. And Cricket South Africa also funds these provinces through the salaries and admin costs for these provinces, and seeing that the border and as well as the Northern Cape. Is it Northern Cape? Yeah, it's Northern Cape.
It's Northern Cape, yes.
It's been put under administration. It just kind of outlines I don't like when stories like this happen, but yeah, it's tough, especially for Division 2 teams, to generate extra revenue to get them going, but also good governance is such a key tenet of why we do things, and we need good administrators to run things properly to make sure that the game grows. If we don't get there, we find ourselves in situations like this.
Yeah, like it is problematic. And I think in recent times, I think it's the second time that has happened to Porter, if my memory serves me correctly.
It is.
So that's a problem for them. But it also says to me on the outside that Northern Cape are a well-run union, but perhaps that's been not quite true. But it's hugely problematic for, as you say, for South African cricket. It's hugely problematic because of the PR and the stories that we want to give you. We want to give you positive stories. The whole point of this podcast was to give you positive stories from those regions that don't always get the limelight. And it's hugely problematic as well because Cricket South Africa are going to do a review at the end of the season of the domestic structure, how it's gone, and whether there need to be improvements. There certainly has been rumours that there might be less teams in the future, and that's a huge problem if you are not running your union properly, and Cricket South Africa has to spend all this money on you. It becomes a huge problem. I want to keep the teams. I want to keep the teams that we have. I want to keep the structure that we have. I think it has benefited the players. I do think it's important, though, to say that SACA's CEO, Andrew Britsky, said these issues, as concerning as they are, will not affect the players and their remuneration. So their contracts will not be affected by the situation, which is one silver lining in this disappointing story at the moment.
Okay, moving from disappointment to a little bit more excitement. I think whenever a new tournament starts, there's a little bit of excitement. Some people will call that hope, but most people then say that it's the hope that kills you. And the Proteas are in Pakistan getting ready to start their Champions Trophy campaign tomorrow. In this tournament, they're going to start against Afghanistan in Karachi, and then on Tuesday next week they play Australia in Rawalpindi, and then next week Saturday they play England in Karachi. It's a very short tournament, as Champions Trophies are. Top two in the group get to the semi-finals. Then you have two matches to win and go through. Tim, we haven't seen the Champions Trophy since 2017. That was the last time we got. In that one, we didn't make it out of the group stages. We got knocked out in the group stages. How confident are you about this Champions Trophy with all the preparation and the SA20 creating more caps and creating a pseudo New Zealand situation a couple of weeks ago?
On the evidence that I've seen so far, on the evidence of New Zealand's performance, of the evidence of India's performance today, I think it's going to be difficult. I'm not saying we can't do it. I think that the shortened version of the competition will favour us. I think the intense nature of it could favour us, but I do think on those particular pitches, I think we are not well enough equipped in the bowling departments. I think we are going to miss the players that are injured, and I think that's a huge concern. I also think not picking another spinner may come up to bite us at the end. If you look at the games that have gone on at the moment, New Zealand had 3 spinners, Pakistan had 3 spinners, India has 3 spinners. We are not going to play. Well, technically, we could play 3.
Please don't say it. Please don't. Please don't.
If we include,
please,
you know who?
Oh,
but it's not a frontline spinner, so it's not. So I think we can, but I think the evidence what I've seen from New Zealand and India, it's going to be difficult.
Look, I think the issue that Rob has is balance and trying to get as many batters in. There is a all rounder who bats really well and bowls spin, who's in South Africa right now, who could have made it in. I've always made a case for him not to be there, but even in the press conference that Rob did when he announced the squad and they asked him about the pitches, he said, no, the pitches are going to be less conducive to spin, but more seam bowler friendly. But I think he missed a trick around the middle overs, right? If you're bowling Vian and Lungi and Corbin in the middle overs, you're just giving teams an opportunity to attack when the ball's getting older and you're adding pace in those moments, right? And if you look at how the teams have played, even in the Tri-Nation series, we got bamboozled by the fact that they had more spinners than us, right? And we got to 350, but they got more, right? We got to 300, but they got more. And to a certain extent, I'm not necessarily worried about the batting. My only issue is, as you've said, it's the bowling, right? Marco and Kagiso aside, I feel like you need to go in with two spinners and have one all-round option, and I think that all-round option is going to be Vian, right? And Vian's been batting really well, so that's a key thing. And to a certain extent, for me, he's the key to this tournament. If he bowls well and contributes with the bat like he's been contributing throughout the Tri-Nation series and in the warm-up game, then we've got something. But if you're going to be reliant on Lungi and Corbin in those middle overs, you could find yourself in a little bit of trouble. The also person who's really, really important is Tabraiz Shamsi. If Shamsi goes for runs, we won't win many games.
Yeah.
And I know Tabraiz likes, and I think he's a great cricketer. I like him as a person as well. He's awesome, right? But the issue is obviously he hasn't been on form on that, there was a period post-COVID where he was the best spinner in the world and he was just taking wickets. We're not there yet. We're not at that level. And obviously age and time, form dips and wanes. We need him back on that top level form, being able to take wickets at regularity and be the wicket-taking option, because Keshav, unfortunately, does not take wickets in clumps. He's not the wicket-taking option that we have. We're looking to be economical with him, close out an end, and effectively force teams to try and attack him, and that's how he takes wickets. Whereas on the other side, you've got Tabraiz, who has the guile, who, as the leg spinner, can cause problems for the batters and take wickets. And we want to get back to that Tabraiz. But for me, that's where this tournament lives and dies. And that's why I'm not as confident for the Proteas right now. But I do look at our opponents and I say, okay, fine. Actually, the hardest game in this group is Afghanistan. We get through Afghanistan, right? You've got an Australia that's got a B bowling attack, similar to us, injuries everywhere, right? So they're contending with that. And then you've got an England side that's trying to play an interesting brand of cricket that resembles something of 2019, but it isn't 2019. And so you have a chance against England there, but you have an opportunity now as if you beat Afghanistan, put them under pressure, beat them. You have an opportunity to qualify for the semi-finals by beating Australia, and then you've got a free hit against England, right? And so that's how I see this tournament, but I don't think we can get through Afghanistan with their cacophony of spinners, and then I think we'll beat Australia. It's just then it's going to come down to England, and that's a toss of a coin, and I think it might fall on South Africa's side. I just don't think we get through England or New Zealand or Pakistan in the semi-finals.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I for the reasons that you outlined, I just think if we'd had, and as much as I now looking at the pictures, I wouldn't be picking at George, but even without him, if we just had an Anric or a Gerald, I think we would have something that other teams don't have, because there are a lot of teams that are without the spearhead pace attack. Australia, New Zealand's lost fast bowlers. Other teams have lost fast bowlers. Been a lot of fast bowlers that have pulled out prior to this tournament. And I think if we had one of Anric and Gerald, it would give us a difference. It would give us somebody who can offer us something different. At the moment, outside of, as you say, Pikiso, and Marco, if he reaches his level, it's all pretty much the same. Guys doing pretty much the same thing, straight up, straight down. Not enough variety on pitches where you need to have variety.
And that's the worry I have with this team, is that, you know, guys are not on form. Lungi's not on form. He's had some niggles throughout SA20. He wasn't playing for Paul at times. You've got Marco, who's actually was the best bowler in SA20. We need him to translate that, which is why I've taken him out, because he's on form. So too Kagiso. If you watch in the SA20, Kagiso is bowling thunderbolts. He is probably in the prime of his cricketing career. If there is ever a situation where someone enters a second prime, right? There was a time where Kagiso kind of waned off a little bit, but it was still world class. He's back at that world class level of even like pre-COVID levels, which is astonishing, right? And you want that, right? But then you look at the rest of that bowling lineup, right? You've got bowler number 5 being Vian Mulder, and bowler number 6 most likely being Aiden Markram, right? That could be dangerous, right? You can have Aiden stealing over here and there, but do we truly trust Aiden to bowl? And this is my thing with the 6th bowler. My rule with the 6th bowler is, can I trust you to bowl 10 overs? Can I trust you to take Vian out of the attack and bowl 10 overs in a game that matters? In this new world of ODI cricket, I don't think so. I think he's going to get attacked, right? I see Tabrez, I see Keshav, right? And to a certain extent, if those two are tight, it gives us a chance to win games, right? And you can have a very miserly attack. But with you, Tim, you needed a third spin option. Even if it was to bowl 2 seamers and 3 spinners and have 30 overs of spin, and have Kagiso and Marco filling in the gaps at the front and at the back end, right? It would be completely different to who we are, South Africa, but it would be something that we need to look to. But I do think that Rob sees Aiden as that guy who can bowl 10 overs. The question is, can he bowl 10 overs for less than 8? And he most likely can. But if I'm the opposition, he's the one I'm waiting for them to bring. There'll always be that opportunity that they bring him on. And everybody in that batting lineup needs to be on song to try and attack him if I was the opposition. Just thinking about it, right? But I think for me, that's the key thing. From a batting perspective, Tim, these guys haven't played enough cricket together. We haven't put our best 6 batters on the field. And so that creates issues, right? Because you got guys who are performing here, guys who are not necessarily on form. For instance, it looks like Tristan Stubbs might not make the 11, right? He's had a great 2024, but he's not going to make the 11. Ryan Rickleton also most likely will miss out on that 11. The top 6 that I have is Temba, Tony, Rassie, Aiden at 4, and then you've got Miller and Klaasen at 5 and 6, with Marco and Vian at 7, Marco at 8, right? That's how I see the batting unit, right? But we're not putting people who are on form. That's my worry. And I know Rassie was given ample chance and ample opportunities to try and play his way back into form, and you kind of got there with the Pakistan series. But is it enough? Yes, he had a great SA20, and time in the middle is important, right? And he scored lots of runs. But how do you feel about sitting Rickleton and Tristan Stubbs in this batting lineup?
Well, you make an interesting point. So when I had read the poll, it was difficult for me to choose because I had to choose. I did a mixture of what I think and what I think what South Africa's 11 is going to be, which is why I didn't have Ryan. Normally, if I knew Ryan was going to open, then Ryan would have been in my poll. That's but I'm fairly confident that Ryan is not going to start the tournament. I think he should start the tournament, but as you rightly pointed out, we look at the warm-up game. Tony was there, scored runs. I think that Tony's going to come in instead of Ryan. The other thing is Stubbs. Again, I would probably have Stubbs. I would probably, but Rob errs on the side of caution. With all his teams, he tends to err on the side of caution. And if we look at his bilateral series, that hasn't worked out for him. But that won't matter if we somehow manage to win this. So that I would make those changes. I would have both of them in, but I understand.
For who? So I'm saying Ryan for Tony and Tristan for
Rossi.
It's a massive gamble, especially that Tristan for Rossi thing. But you go with the hot hand, right?
Yeah.
But also Tristan hasn't helped himself since December. He hasn't scored a lick of runs. Yeah. Like he's just fallen off a cliff.
Yeah, and that's a valid point. And I get the Rossi selection. I get the stability. It's 50 overs. It's a long time. You need somewhere in that order to have some kind of semblance of control. You don't just want people who are going to potentially score a runner ball. You need to have somebody, and I get that. I do get that. I just think South African cricket, when they do that, they tend to fail. They tend to lose out due to run rate, tend out to lose out because they're not pushing hard enough. They're not playing the cricket that people all around the world are playing. That's my worry. That's my concern. I get it. I understand it. I just don't agree with it.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think we're playing a brand of cricket that's slightly outdated. The idea of keeping wickets in hand, but there's a school of thought that says one-day cricket will always be one-day cricket, and the key to one-day cricket is keeping wickets in hand for the final 20 overs for you to break the bank and be aggressive, right? And in Rob's defense, that game against Pakistan when we scored 350, I thought it should be 400, but I think any coach would have taken 350 in a one day. It's just his bowlers couldn't defend 350, which is more worrying than anything else. And yeah, because I think from a batting perspective, I think this format suits our batters more, right? It suits them better. They got a lot more time, and you can navigate the 50 overs much better, right? And I was laughing the other day when Rob was like, our first thing was to bat out the 50 overs, to have everyone bat. We have to like utilize all the overs, right? And it's like it's self-explanatory, but it's like basic, and it kind of shows you how little one-day cricket we've played. And so, yeah, look, I think the game against Afghanistan is going to be a trial by spin, and it's just going to be interesting because I think you may want to give Ryan a chance in that game to especially take advantage of the power play and see how far he can go. But on the other hand, Tony has had a great year in one-day green, and we're just going to need him. One last thing, Tim. We've just touched on the style of play. The kits. We moved from Lotto to Macro. What do you make of the new kits? Do they look good? Do they not look good? Do you like it?
It's the first kit in, I would say, and I'm not kidding, the first kit in 23 years that I'm going, I love that kit. That kit is 9.5 out of 10. It is
No, man,
so
Tim.
it is so on point. I love that kit. I absolutely love that kit.
Okay.
And that kit is so much better than anything we have done in any of the World Cups.
Even that Adidas kit we wore to the 2015 Cricket World Cup, the one with the yellow sleeves.
Yeah. That's nice. That was nice. That was decent. This is better.
And you say 23 years, so you're telling me the 1999 was the last time we had a good kit? That upside down yellow Y.
In a World Cup. Yeah. In a World Cup, yes.
Yeah. I'm with you. We've gone through some really, really bad kits. Some really horrible kits. But yeah, look, it looks good. The colors will take a little getting used to, but I love the fact that we've gone back to the yellow, the orange, the gold collar, right? And I like the detail on the shirts with the Docker stripes, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, look, a new era may bring new success. Hopefully Macron will be the kit manufacturer that gives us another tournament win. Okay, well, another one, because we've actually won a Champions Trophy before. So we've just gone through 28 years of pain, 27 years of pain after that. Yeah. Okay, let's go to the One Day Cup. Let's wrap it up quite quickly. We've got Tim's teams of the week, but we'll just go through Division 1 results and fixtures, and then we're just going to talk through Division 2 and where things are, because everyone started this last weekend. We've also got SA merging in Division 2 to give those guys a chance. It's SA under 19. So Division 2 actually has 8 teams now, which is awesome. I like that. I think we'd like to have SA merging at least play even in the 4-day series, but that's going to be slightly logistically a nightmare. But anyway, Division 1 fixtures. We started with it says 4-day series. Apologies. It's 1-day cup. We started with the Lions beating Western Province on Saturday by 40 runs. Zubair Hamza back home, his old home, scoring 56 of 79. Eddie Moore 66 of 94. Lucha Supama took 4 for 43 to help restrict Western Province to 219. Carl Simmons took 3 for 44 Province. The game between Northwest and the Knights, Northwest won by 4 wickets. Jacques Snyman of the Knights scoring 85. Yanuman Malan, remember that name? 90 of 118, playing back at home. Maybe home comforts are going to be good for him to bring him back into some sort of reckoning at the Proteas level. And then you have Boland beating the Titans by 5 wickets in a low-scoring game. They bowled the Titans out for 110. Imran Manak and Sean van Berg taking 3 apiece. Gavin Kaplan scoring 42 not out. And Tepondwandwa of the Titans taking 3 for 21. And then off the weekend to close it out, it was the Warriors taking on the Dolphins in Durban. The Warriors beat the Dolphins in Durban by 126 runs. Jordan Hammond scoring 148. Matthew Bretsky continuing from his big debut 100 in the ODIs in Pakistan with a 62. Bear Swanepoel coming in at number 4 as a pinch hitter, 3 actually, in that game. He's scoring 73 not out. And John Smuts for the Dolphins, trying to hold on for dear life for them with a 58. Tim, in the weekend games, what were the standouts for you?
Province shouldn't have lost. Now we're going to argue on this. The Province should never, ever, ever have lost that game. I don't know how they lost it. But again, they allowed the Lions' tail to work. Lions shouldn't have got to 258. 220 would have been a far fairer reflection on Province's dominance. But this is where Province are going to struggle. Province rely so much on Eddie Moore in the batting department in the 50-over competition. And they're carrying too many players in their batting. They're going to perform with the ball. They're going to keep teams competitive with the ball. They're going to keep struggling with the bat. And that was the case here. But the big one of the weekend because of promotion relegation standings where they are, both the Warriors and the Dolphins are in danger of being relegated. Now, only one team gets relegated, but both of them are at the bottom of that log at the moment. Dolphins just below the Warriors. And that game was extraordinary. It's the worst performance from the Dolphins all season. It really was a poor performance. They dropped, and I might have missed one or two, but they definitely dropped 7 drop catches in that match. 3 were off Andila Similani's bowling in the same over. 3 in the same over. Jordan Herman was dropped on 5 by Hukuru clearly. Caught and bowled. No caught and bowls are easy, but by caught and bowls, you should be taking that. That's on 5. That's a change maker. He makes 148 not out, plays really well. And they batted really well at the Warriors. There's no denying that fact. They look somewhere where they should be looking with the types of players that they have. But the Dolphins were dreadful, absolutely dreadful. And they're in big trouble now because they are actually, as I say, at the bottom of the log in terms of promotion relegation. They're in big trouble. They're not playing good cricket. They're not getting good performances. The experienced players are not pitching in with the business outside of John Smuts. John Smuts is doing his best, but he is one individual. The other games went as expected, really. There was nothing really to take away from those.
Yeah.
Ball Sprinters just at home, boom, spin, and that was it.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't continue to spin the whole way through, but I saw Glenton Steeman was trundling there in Paul. Moving to the midweek, Boland continued their continued an unbeaten run by beating the Dolphins again by 6 wickets. They bowled the Dolphins out for 174. Bryce Parsons scoring 50. It was Imran Manak again with 4 for 24. And then it was Grant Rulofson and Gavin Kaplan, 52 and 50 respectively each, which kind of gives a team that was sitting at the bottom of the promotion relegation tables some boost. So it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like, because I think the Dolphins might be for a rude surprise come the end of the season with Boland giving themselves an early head kick start to getting as many points as possible in the One Day Cup. Western Province beat the Northwest by 7 wickets. They bowled them out for 145. Rena van Tonder scoring 55. Carl Simmons 4 for 21. And Carl Verena, who comes back from Pakistan, scoring 47, not out. And then the Knights, 247 for 7, drew with the Warriors, 7 for 1. It was a no result in that game. Deon Forrest 123 and Patrick Butter 58. Tim, Boland again, just doing the business.
Yeah, they've got a nice team there. They've got a nice team for this competition. Again, spin was having a huge impact. This time it was Manak was doing the damage. I think it's his best figures in the format, if my memory serves me correctly. So that's good for him. And they're youngsters coming through. Gavin Kaplan and Rulofson playing really, really well. Just making sure that there's no sort of slipping off after the last win. They just got the business done. I'm sorry. I really felt for the Knights, because they may well have lost that game because 247 was a little bit short on that particular pitch. But I would like to have seen them at least try to get a result and see what they could do, because it would be a nice story for them if they could stay up in Division 1. And they definitely can, as things stand, still do that. Dion Forrester, I think, found it a little bit challenging in Division 1 from time to time. He hasn't quite hit the straps that he did in Division 2, but this was a very special innings. This was an innings where the Knights were under a lot of pressure. He was constantly losing partners outside of Patrick Borta. So it was a lot was on his shoulders, and he timed his innings. That was the thing. He timed his innings really, really well. And he only went into fourth gear right at the end when they knew they needed to get some kind of a total going. And he couldn't afford to go any earlier, because otherwise they would have had a lot less as their total. And then Northwest were very poor against Western Province. A very easy win for Western Province. They really didn't have to go past second gear. It was a very subpar performance from Northwest. I'd be a little bit worried if I was them, just at their general performances in this competition so far.
You're going to need some wins from the Dolphins and the Knights to kind of help them put up a charge to get themselves out of the relegation zone from a total. And we'll bring up the relegation tables later in the season when the 4-day series starts again. Just some 4-day series Division 2 games. We started with the Inyati and Northern Cape. Inyati won that game against Northern Cape, which dents Northern Cape's hopes of promoting. Inyati scored 221. Northern Cape got 218, and Northern Cape and the Inyati got 221. Mudiri Titeko for Northern Cape scoring 91, but Nathan Rue and Lihle Sizani, Nathan Rue scoring 116 and Lihle Sizani scoring 55 to help the Inyati win. Easterns went to Tix Oval to play SA Emerging. Eastern scored 231. And they beat SA Emerging by 60 runs, and Douglas Lewis, they only get into 125 for 7. It's the same old guys. Jason Van Dijk, 59, Grant Thompson, 59, and Gabila Sukukuni, 51. So finally, Easterns get a win after a horrible 4-day series. And then you have the Southwestern Districts winning, or not Southwestern Districts, the Garden Route Badgers beating Limpopo by 4 wickets. Limpopo bowled out for 188, and it was Luke Beaufort and Lifa Ntanzi, as well as Carl Jacobs, just managing to undo Limpopo. Luke Beaufort scoring 51, Lifa Ntanzi 5 for 59. I think it was his first fifer in List A cricket, and Carl Jacobs taking 4 for 26. KZN Inland went to White River to play Mpumalanga. Those are the Tuskers taking on the Rhinos. Tusker set 256, Jack Lee scoring 63, Shorten Gilson scoring 51. Mpumalanga only managing to get 161 with Herman Rolfes scoring 48, and Ziad Abrahams of the Tuskers taking 3 for 20. Mpumalanga yesterday went down to Oudtshoorn to play the Garden Route Badgers. They won a game, beating the Badgers by 6 wickets. They set the Badgers set them 261, and Mpumalanga getting 265 for 4, putting by 6. Kelly Smuts of the Badgers scoring 91, George van Heerden scoring a century, 110 not out. Mohammed Mayat of Mpumalanga scoring 53, and Benjamin van Niekerk scoring 89 not out for Mpumalanga. And then Northern Cape hosted SA Emerging in Kimberley. Northern Cape bowling out SA Emerging for 131 and managing to win this game by 5 wickets. Hardest for Yoon taking 3 for 30, Ernest Kim 2 for 22, and Skalk Engelbrecht of the SA Emerging taking 3 for 24. Tim, if you look at Division 2, we've spoken about the standout performances, but what games, tickled you or do you liked?
Yeah, so I think that the Mpumalanga win against the Garden Route Badgers, that was yesterday. I think that game was, it's not so much the underdog hitting the Goliath, not quite on that spectrum, but it is the less favored team getting the win against a stronger team, and I like their stories. I like Mpumalanga. I would like what they're trying to do there. They've got a nice team ethic. There's not a lot of stars there. They've got one or two really good players, but when they do get a win, it usually comes from 3 or 4 players chipping in together. It's a real team effort, and I like that. I like that. The other thing is, despite their loss, I've had for the last few weeks, I've got one eye on George van Heerden. He made a magnificent 110. His team lost. Yeah, they lost. I didn't think they bowled as well as they should have, but his innings was exceptional, and I'm watching his future because I think next season there should be a spot for him in Division 1. He's just showing his class, and I really, really enjoy that. I enjoy young players coming through the system, going through academies, going through the A setup, and then going through all the levels, and then reaching the full Division 1, and then hopefully the Proteas. Those are the two. That game particularly was the one that caught my interest.
Cool.
Northern Cape they've now won one, lost one, if I'm correctly, or
yeah, they need to like win games.
Yeah, they need to be just a little bit careful, because at the moment it's looking like Tuskers are going to go through to promotion and they're going to sail it. They need to be a bit careful. Last 2 seasons, this is the competition where
it's always the last competition that they're playing in where it feels like, and it was either the T20 competition or it was the One Day Cup. When it was the One Day Cup, that was the last competition. The kind of, and it either feels like they are on some lull after the break and they just can't get themselves going. But yeah, you can't be losing to the Inyati if you want to get promoted. I'm not saying the Inyati are bad. What I'm saying is these are the games you should be winning, and they're not. With the players that you have, right? The Inyati are kind of blooding in some youngsters, giving people exposure at list A level, and they're coming out with wins, which is an awesome story for the Inyati, and it's something that we actually should highlight more, and we will. Okay, and we're going to highlight it now because Tim's come up with his teams of the week for Division 1 and Division 2. Division 1, there's only one Western Province player in Eddie Moore. You've got Jacques Snyman from the Knights, Jordan Hanman from the Warriors, Yanaman Malan from the Dragons, Matthew Bretsky from the Warriors. He scored a lovely 60 there. Dean Forrester from the Knights, Spare Swanepoel from the Warriors, Bjorn Fortuin, Lions, Sean van Berg, Boland, Lutus Pamela, Lions, and Imran Manak, Boland. Nice spread of Division 1 players here across the teams, with the Titans not getting anybody this week.
Yes, hopefully that changes tomorrow. But yes, as I said, there's no real. There's obviously the standout is Jordan Hamann, 148, no doubt. That is obviously the standout performance of Division 1. Bjorn Fortuin is just Mr. Consistent. He's just exceptionally consistent. I will do at the end of the season to a proper sort of team of the season based on all the players that have been picked. Bjorn Fortuin, I can tell you right now, is going to make it because he's in my team pretty much every single week. He's just been so consistent. Glad to see Luther Sapamla back. Glad to see him doing the business. Those are the really, shall we say, standout performances. That stand out for me. And I obviously did mention Dion Forrester as well.
Yes. Okay. So then the next one is looking at Division 2. Nathan Roux of the Inyati making it in after his splendid 100. Jason van Dijk of Easterns also coming in there after his half century. Lihle Sizani in at 3 from the Inyati. Mudir Diteko from Northern Cape. George van Heerden after his 100, we've spoken about him. Sean Gilson of the Tuskers. Jay de Klerk from the Inyati. Carl Jacobs from the Badgers, Raik Daniels from SA Merging, Lifantanzi from the from the Badgers, and Ziad Abrahams from the Tuskers. Also a nice spread and some new names like Raik Daniels as well as Lihle Sizani and Lifantanzi.
So Sizani is an interesting one. I've actually been watching his innings that he's played. And I'm going to go slightly across formats because his last 3 innings he's made 250s, both at the full-day competition and in the one-day cup. He looks like a good player to me. He looks like a good player, still young. He looks like somebody just to keep an eye on. I've been impressed with both those innings for me. And it's good to see. We've said many, many times that we need Black African batters. He's one, and I'm not saying let's promote him to Division 1. I'm just saying let's keep an eye on him, and let's hope that his progress continues. As I've mentioned, George van Heerden, Ted de Klerk will be the other one. Ted de Klerk will be my Division 2 team of the season. I can tell you right now. He's in there so often.
He gives me Bjorn for 10 vibes in terms of his consistency and his demeanor and both the spinners. It just doesn't, from a batting perspective, he won't ever get to Bjorn levels, but it's that type of mentality that I get from a Jade.
Yeah, they're very, very, very similar. And then something we didn't touch on in Division 2 is the SA emerging performances. Now they've really struggled. They've really struggled. Early doors of the one-day cup, which makes the 4 for 48 that Reed Daniels did get the other day all the more impressive. Pace, intensity, good bounces. There's something there to work with. There's definitely something there to work with Reed Daniels, which is why he definitely wasn't there. My Division 2 teams tend to need fast bowlers. There are not enough fast bowlers within the Division 2 structure. I'd like to see going forward, as you rightly pointed out, either SA emerging playing at least a couple of the formats, or Reed Daniels getting a Division 2 contract, because Division 2 does need people like that. It needs people like that. It's not going to have Hardest full in forever. Hardest is going to retire at some point. But I'm impressed with Reed. I'm watching him, keeping a close eye on his performances.
Okay. That's good. Okay, let's just go through some of the fixtures for the week. Remember, the Proteas play Afghanistan tomorrow at 11 a.m. Just confirming the time. Yes, 11 a.m. South African time. So please do check that out. But Division 1 One-Day Cup fixtures tomorrow night, tomorrow afternoon. The Titans take on the Lions at Supersport Park from 1 p.m. You can go there and have a watch. It'll be on Supersport most definitely. Then you've got on Saturday, you've got the Warriors taking on Boland in Gqeberha at 1 p.m. and also the Knights taking on Western Province in Bloemfontein at 1 p.m. Big games there. Boland top of the table, Warriors also top of the table. That would be nice. And Knights looking to bounce back and get their one-day cup going with their first win. And then on Sunday, you've got the Lions taking on Northwest, the Dragons at 10 a.m. at the Wanderers. So please do, if you're in the Joburg area, come down. There will be rain around, but we think on Sunday, most of the rain will be gone. And then in Centurion as well, you've got the Titans taking on the Dolphins in a must-win clash for both teams. They need to get the train on the road, and what better way to get a win against a much storied rival. In Division 2, you have on Saturday the Rhinos in White River hosting SA Emerging at 9:30 on Saturday, and also Border taking on the Inyati, Eastern Cape Inyati, taking on the Limpopo Impalas in Polokwane at 10 a.m. And then on Sunday, you've got the Eastern Storm in Pietermaritzburg paying the KZN Inland, the ACDC Express Tuskers. And then in Kimberley on Sunday at 10 a.m., you've got the Northern Cape Heat taking on the Six Gun Grill Garden Route Badgers. Lots of cricket on the go. Please do go check it out. Remember, please do, if you're on YouTube right now, please do like and subscribe to our channel. Please follow us on X at the Apple at Full Quota Pod, and also Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The community is growing, and finally, remember, please do buy some coffee. We appreciate any and every contribution to helping this podcast keep growing from strength to strength. Tim, any final words, especially with the Proteas playing tomorrow? What do you want to say to them, or anything, or the listeners, or the viewers?
Okay, so the Proteas just get the win. I don't really care how it's done. Just get the win. A bit like my team last night. They didn't get the win. They should have. I was shouting at the TV. Just get the win. That's all I'm bothered about. We can worry about the how later. Just get the win. We will, just to the listeners and watchers, we will have guests coming up. So we've had a couple of guests. Taking just a little bit of a break, but there will be more guests coming up, because that's what you asked for. There will be more guests coming up. We are in discussion with a few people, so just watch out. Keep an eye on all our socials, and we'll let you know when that comes through.
Yes, and good luck to the Proteas tomorrow. But outside of that, for myself and Tim, till Monday, it's goodbye and le sale kakagiso.